Welcome, everyone, to See What You Hear, the power of speech reading. I've took a little bit of artistic license with the original title, which was The Power of Lip Reading, because really what I'm going to talk about today is speech reading, of which lip reading is a part. And people are certainly more aware of lip reading, I find, than speech reading. So welcome, everyone. I hope we'll have a good session today and you learn more than you do now about speech reading and how it can help. A little bit about me. I'm been with the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, Newfoundland and Labrador, for about 22 years. And 21 of those, I've been a speech reading instructor. So I love what I do, everything that I do. But I have to say, I really enjoy teaching speech reading. I find I grow every time I teach a class. I learn things from people who attend the class, but I also get to see the difference that in my students in how they progress in each level. And that's really rewarding and great to see. It's sort of why I love this job, is to provide information to people so that they can live their best life with hearing loss. So that, and also see the friendships that develop within the class. And certainly I've developed some friendships myself from my students. So I have to say it has been a great experience for me, and I really enjoy doing each class. So today we're going to talk about speech reading. I just want to qualify that today's session, there's different types of speech reading and lip reading. But for me, I'm a speech reading instructor for people who are hard of hearing. So I just wanted to qualify that before we start our session. So today we're going to learn about the difference between lip reading and speech reading. We're also going to be talking about the benefits of speech reading training. So focus training on learning different lip movements. Also learn about resources that are available to practice lip reading, especially when you've learned lip reading movements. It's how to practice those uh, lip movements in lip reading. And of course, while this isn't going to be a class in speech reading, we can have a little bit of fun and seeing how we do with our existing speech reading skills. So let's dive into the session today. And I'm going to start first with a question for you. Do you lip read? And I'm going to answer for you. Yes, you do lip read. If you're able to see lips um, and understand language, then you are English language. You are able to lip read English. In fact, studies show that when we're between 4 and 8 months, we actually, as babies, will just be drawn to looking at the mouth of people who are talking to us. And to the point that when we're about a year old, we actually move our eyes first to the speaker's eyes, then to the lips, and then the jaw movements, and then back to the eyes and back and forth. So we become a speech reader at a young age, and it helps us to learn language, and then we're more prepared to over time when we start to talk of how those movements are made. So it's really interesting. What is lip reading? Well, lip reading is just simply the recognition of speech by watching the movements of the lips, the jaw, and the tongue. While speech reading is certainly, lip reading is a part of that, but it's also about interpreting the sounds that are heard interpreting facial expressions and body language. You know what they say about body language? It can convey a lot of the message in communication. Using context and environmental cues, and we'll talk about context. Certainly, one example would be, if you're going to a meeting, say on a work meeting on the communication plan. So you have the context for that meeting. You know what the subject matter that's going to be discussed. You can look at the agenda. You can look at the agenda items and say, okay, let me prepare for this. What are we going to talk about today? I'm going to go through the communication plan or any other documentation and prepare myself for that. And if there's anything I'm not sure of, see if I can talk to someone before then. And that gives me the context of the meeting, lets me know what subjects are going to be discussed. And from that, also what language is going to be used in describing that. And that gives you real preparation for lip reading and also listening, what you would be listening for. We're going to be talking about using self-advocacy skills, learning and using self-advocacy skills, hearing loss management training. So there's so many different strategies that can be used. I mean, when you have your hearing, there's only so much technology can do, depending on your hearing loss as well. So using other things that can help you understand more in conversations and in different environments. So that's another part of the topics, that we cover in a course. And that's all part too of making the most of your hearing and using technology. So there's a lot of technology out there that can help, and also using existing technology. So a lot of people will have hearing aids, but what I find a lot of times they don't know the capabilities of the hearing aid or the ins and outs. They know the basics. So we also go into that too. And depending on someone's lifestyle, there can be so many other things that can help expand on listening with their existing technology. So I have another question for you now. Question 2 is, what percentage of the English language is understandable by only reading lips? You probably haven't had this question before, but just take a guess. Is it 10 to 20% that we can understand on the lips, like if we have no sound at all? Is it 30 to 40%, 50 to 60%, 70 to 80%, or 100%? Just think about that. Well, despite what some movies and television shows show you, 100% is not cannot be communicated by lips alone. It's actually 30 to 40%, and that would be someone who's pretty proficient in lip reading. So that is 30 to 40%, but it's not, it may sound like not a lot, but when you look at it, when you're hard of hearing, you do usually have some hearing, you have your technology, and that 30 to 40% that you can optimize what you understand will really improve communication. I also want to talk about the benefits of speech reading training. Um, and I think a lot of these benefits people don't realize. So I wanted to focus on that. So one of the most important things in speech reading training is you focus on lip reading and lip movements. So those lip movements are different sounds that are made on the lips. Um, and so 30 to 40% of them can be identified on the lips. So it's learning those different movements, movements that are similar lip movements. So like P, B, and M, they sound quite different. So P, P, B, B, M, M. So they sound different, but they look exactly the same on the lips. P, P, B, B, M, M. So those movements, if you learn those movements, you can listen to what someone's saying. And if you're missing out a word, you can say, okay, what makes sense at the beginning of that sentence, say? Is it a P, B, or M word? Instead of trying to just figure it out in sort of a natural way we've learned since we were babies. So it becomes much more effective when we study lip movements, and it allows us to really improve our communication. So any words that we miss, we have a better chance of understanding and putting that sentence together in a more efficient way. Speech reading also improves our ability to fit in part of the conversation. So that's part of what I was saying instead of just listening alone. And part of that would be lip reading, but also part of that would be hearing loss management strategies in different environments. It could be self-advocacy. So all those things that we learn in speech reading come together, and the more that you become proficient with it and apply it, you'll understand more speech, in addition to what you would hear naturally. It also really helps understanding speech in noise. So it may not be hearing more, but it would be understanding more. How can you understand more? Sometimes that is hearing more, but it's also looking at ways that you can overcome. If you're hard of hearing, you know how much noise impacts on communication when you're in a cocktail party and there's all this background noise and different conversations. So there's different ways that you can make the most of that environment and improve how much you understand. More benefits of speech reading training is improved communication skills. So there's a huge umbrella of improved communication skills that we cover in the 3 levels. So one example of that would be a communication repair strategy. So an example would be of how you could use a strategy would be, um, say you need to call to make a doctor's appointment, and you're talking to the receptionist and asking to make an appointment. And they come back and say, okay, we have an appointment today at 2:15, and you don't know if it's 2:15 or 2:50. So you can show up at 2:15 and hope it's 2:15. And if not, wait around till 2:50. Or you can use a strategy, a simple strategy of saying, I heard 2:15, as in a quarter after 2. Is that correct? Or is it 2:50, as in 10 to 3? And when they come back, chances are they're going to repeat back to you a quarter after 2, or 2:15, as in a quarter after 2, or 2:50, as in 10 to 3. And if they don't, you can still clarify how that is. And that gives you that confidence that when you show up at 2:15, you're not going to have to make extra time, and just in case it's 2:50. And you're going to feel confident that you're there on time. And we all know that makes a huge difference to our day. We freed up over 30 minutes. So that's wonderful. It also gives you, speech reading also gives you a better understanding of the range of technology that's available and how it can help in different situations. So there's a lot of technology out there that can be used with hearing aids or without hearing aids that can help you in different situations. And certainly, us at the Hard of Hearing Association are certainly trying to stay up on different technologies and how they work. And so I find a lot of people who come to class are surprised about the technology they didn't know about and how that can improve, make it easier to listen in different environments. So that's one thing we also include in our speech reading classes. Another thing, and I think it's a very important thing that we cover, is self-advocacy skills. So improving self-advocacy skills, it really leads to better communication, but more than that, better self-confidence and more control, feeling more control over your listening environments, and when you're communicating with people. So self-advocacy skills are basically, um, what I'll do is give you an example. Self-advocacy skills. So I'm going to give you a situation. So, a community group is putting on having a guest speaker that you really want to see and are really interested in attending. So there's two people who want to go who are hard of hearing. They separately call up and ask for a ticket. So the first person calls up and say, I'd really like a ticket for this. What time does it start? And how much are the tickets, and pays for them. And then you have a person who calls up and says, I want to get a ticket for this. First, I want to ask you if you're going to have any listening system available for this session. And if you don't, may I suggest that you can loan out a listening system or rent out a listening system from the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association for this event. This will allow me and others in the audience to be able to understand the speaker, and have a better experience. Also, do you know if you'll be having captioning? And, and if it's possible for me to reserve a seat in the front. So these are all things that you could do to have a better listening experience. So what difference does that make? Well, the person who self-advocated, they're going to show up a little bit early, make sure that their seat is reserved and they have their seat and it's a good location. They're going to know how to pick up their listening system and going to be able to test that out. And where they know there isn't going to be captioning, they're going to bring along their telephone, their cell phone that has a speech to text app. And so when they're in the session, they will be up front, they will be able to lip read and see the expressions of and body language of the speaker, and they will be able to listen from their microphone that goes right into their hearing aids or into headphones. And if they miss anything or don't understand a word, they can look down at their speech to text app and see what was said. While the other person comes in, they arrive, they need to sit more, they arrived a little bit late and they're sitting near the back of the room, and they want to attend, they want to listen to the speaker. And so they do for a while, but then it gets exhausting. It's very difficult to hear They can't see the facial expressions. They're missing out on words. And eventually they start feeling left out and not included. Um, and the person up front is making the most of their hearing and the technology that's available and is more engaged and is getting what they came for. So those are two different examples of what self-advocacy and not self-advocating for your listening and how it can impact on your experience. And those self-advocacy skills are not easy to develop for some people. And so that's one of the things that we work on is, how to develop that and feel comfortable in asking for accessibility or different things that can help you understand more. Also, the benefits of speech reading is better utilization of hearing aids. One of the things I find in my classes is that people with hearing loss not necessarily and have hearing aids don't necessarily know the capabilities of their hearing aids or a lot about them. Now, some people do, but certainly I find, they don't know a lot about the features that are on their hearing aid and are available, and that some of those can really make a difference in communication in different environments. So we certainly talk about that, and we have guest speakers so that's like an audiologist come in so that people can talk to a hearing care professional. Another thing we really try to keep up on is new and emerging hearing technologies. So, we can talk about different future technologies and new technologies and how that can help and how they can be accessed. So, an emerging technology that we're really excited about is Auracast, which is a Bluetooth casting. So what that's going to mean for people in the future is that different areas that have sound systems or announcement systems, if they're Auracast enabled, anyone in the audience or anyone in the environment who has Auracast enabled Bluetooth device, they will be able to use their phones and connect through that region or a sound system region on their Bluetooth settings and be able to choose that. And that any announcements will come directly into their hearing aids. So in the case of the guest speaker, someone who has Auracast enabled hearing aids can sit wherever they want in the room, and listening wise will have the best seat in the house because it will come directly into their hearing aids, which are programmed for their hearing loss. And another example of an environment that will be helpful is we all know at the airport, announcements are very difficult to understand for anyone really, because there's a lot of hard environments and reverberation. But when Auracast comes into play, anyone who has Bluetooth headphones or Bluetooth Auracast enabled hearing aids will be able to do the same. So if you're in Terminal 1 in Toronto Airport, you can go into your Bluetooth settings, your Auracast Bluetooth settings, and press on Terminal 1, and all those announcements for Terminal 1 will come directly into your hearing aids or your Bluetooth enabled headphones. So that will be very helpful. And because it's something that everyone will be interested in, or a lot more people, it levels the playing field for people who have hearing loss because they don't have to advocate for their listening. It will already be there. So hearing aids will, from what I've heard from hearing aid reps will ORCAS should be enabled in hearing aids in the next couple of years. They probably become mainstream a little bit after that. But I think that's a technology that is just going to make a huge difference to people who have hearing loss. And certainly when you learn all the skills that we cover in speech reading, self-advocacy, communication repair strategies, lip reading, all those things come together and allow for better confidence in communicating. And especially, as we know, social settings, especially like this picture here, can be difficult depending on the listening environment. If there's lots of hard surfaces, if there's lots of people in the room. So all of those things can make it difficult. So in this situation, you would learn to say, I really want to hear what you have to say, but I have hearing loss, and this kind of environment here is really making it difficulty for me to follow what you're saying. Would you be willing to just come over this area here, which is quieter? Because I really want to continue our conversation and hear what you have to say. So that would be, one example of what can be done, to improve communication in different environments and in different social situations. And the hearing loss management strategies. So one of the things we talk about is the communication triangle, which includes the environment. And as we know, the listening environment can really make or break communication. But the more we can look at the communication triangle, which is the features of the speaker, how we can improve getting their signal or their what they have to say to you, and characteristics of the person with hearing loss. So, what type of hearing loss do they have? What kind of technology do they use or have at their disposal? Is there other technology that can help? And then, of course, the environment is okay. What's the environment? How can that environment be changed? So we call it the communication triangle, because when it comes to communication, it takes three, right? It takes the environment, it takes the speaker, and it also the person who has hard of hearing, who is hard of hearing. So the more you can improve the different parts of that triangle, the better the communication will be. Another benefit, if it's in-person classes, is that you have an opportunity to connect with your classmates, learn from them, and we encourage family members to attend as well. So a lot of times family members sometimes can discount what the hard of hearing person is saying, and maybe not communicate as effectively as they could. And they certainly learn about these difficulties from others, and how that can be overcome or improved. And so that ends up, communication is certainly always involves two people. And so the more that they are aware of how they can improve communication, the better the opportunity to have great listening. So at the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, Newfoundland and Labrador, we have two ways that you can learn or take part in a speech reading class or lip reading class. And one of those is in-person classes that we offer twice a year. And the other is an online course called Read Our Lips and self-paced learning. So you can, anyone in the world can attend those classes. And they're self-paced, so you can go at your own speed. So in our on-site classes, we purposely make the small class size. We have 3 levels that we offered in the spring and the fall. We have 2 qualified instructors. And each course is 8 weeks long and 2 hours a week with homework. Yes, with homework. That's really important too to practice. And to help practice, we include the Read Our Lips online program. So we follow, for level one anyway, we follow the course according to the Read Our Lips so that they can practice students can practice every week on that site, and then come back and they've had the lip movements they learned the week before better cemented into their memory with that practice. So again, we teach lip reading skills, self-advocacy skills, learn about hearing technology and hearing aids, and hearing loss management and communication techniques, and certainly get to know our classmates and learn from each other as well. The online program is $49 as well. Our on-site class is $49. And the difference between, certainly it's a little bit different because the lip movement is more what's focused on in the lesson, and the hearing loss management and communication techniques are included in written materials, so handouts that can be printed if you like. And one of the great things is that you can try the first lesson in free just to see if it's something that you're interested in and is a way that you like to learn. And of course, it's accessible all over the world, anywhere there's internet, which makes it convenient as well, because you can go at your own pace. You can do half a lesson in a sitting, or you could do just part of the lesson. But it is progressive, so you start at lesson one and go on through. And the course includes the most visible lip reading movements. So that is really helpful. Okay, so now you know what speech reading is about and the benefits of speech reading. So I thought I'd take this opportunity. Maybe we can try to lip read together and use our existing lip reading skills. And certainly, with formal training, it can only improve. So the lip reading exercise I have 3 lip reading sentences that I want you to lip read. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unshare the screen and say a sentence that has to do with vacations. I will say it twice with a pause between. So the first time I want you to just try to pick out any words you think I'm saying, because I'm going to say it without sound. And I want you to try to pick out any sounds or words that you think I'm saying, and it's going to be about vacations. So that is the context of what my sentences will be about. So right away, you sort of have an idea of what kind of language or what kind of topics that I'm going to cover in a sentence. So ready to have some fun? Okay, so I'm going to say my first sentence twice without sound. Then I'm going to bring up a list of sentences of which one of those I will be saying, I have said, and I'll be doing it again. And then I want you to think about which sentence I'm saying, try to pick that out. And then I'm going to show you the sentence that I said, and I'm going to show you the lip movement again. Okay, everybody ready? Okay, so the first sentence I'm going to say about vacations is, Could you pick out any words? Now I'm going to share again. So I said one of these sentences. So I'll give you a moment to read through those. Now I'm going to say it again and see if you can pick out what I have said. Okay. So the sentence I said is, okay. So what I said is, don't forget your sunscreen. Did you get it? Sometimes it can be difficult. I'm doing my best too to share the screen, so hopefully that helps. So our next sentence about vacations. Again, we have the context. So I'm going to share my camera again. Okay. And did you pick out any words that I said? Do you think you know what one or two words that I've said? Now I'm going to show you the sentences. So I said one of these sentences. Can you pick out what I said? Now I'm going to say the sentence again. Do you think you know what I said now? So I was saying your view of the ocean is amazing. How'd you do? Okay, I have one more sentence that has to do with vacations that I'll share with you now as part of our practice. Ready for the sentence? Okay. So do you think you got any of those words? Okay, let's take a look at the sentences. So I said one of these sentences, so I'll give you a minute to look through those. Okay, now I'm going to say it again. I think you figured out what I said. Okay, so this is the sentences. So what I said was, when is your vacation this year? So how did you find the exercise? It was a little more challenging for me, sharing the screen and unsharing the screen, but hopefully it was smooth enough for you. And hopefully you've got some of the words and maybe even some of the sentences. So that's just sort of an example that I can do in a recording of how we would practice different movements. So we would focus on sentences that include the lip movements or that we learn that week. So a lip movement again is a movement that looks the same on the lips. So, like a P, B, and M look the same on the lips. And so it could be also an F and B, they look the same, but sound differently. So, f, f, v, v, v. So they both sound differently, but they look the same on the lips. So these are things that we would learn in speech reading. Learn different movements each week and practice them. So another thing that my students certainly look for is ways to practice speech reading outside of the classroom. So I thought I would include some of the fun ways that people can practice. So, one good way is we all know that newscasters, they're trained communicators, and they learn to speak at a sort of a natural pace and know how to enunciate their words and their speech patterns. That makes it a little bit easier to understand what they have to say and also easier to lip read in most cases. So what I suggest to people is that you can record the news and watch it at the same time. And then at the end, you can go back to that newscast. You already have the context of some of the topics and come to a segment where the newscaster is talking about the story or introducing a story, and you will have the context of what they spoke about in that segment in the news. So then you can play it without sound and try to understand, try to focus on the lip movements and see and practice lip movements that you've already learned and see, practice and you can go back and forth. And this can really help you practice. Another really great way to practice is with a friend or family member, someone you're used to communicating with. And they usually have fun as well, but also develop an understanding of how important lip reading is. So, and facing you in that communication. And they get to experience the challenge as well. So it's always fun to practice speech reading with a friend or family member. And there's different other ways you can practice as well. One of the ways is there's different games out there as well. So I put an example of one that we have here available for loan is Hearing Things, the Lip Reading Challenge. So I also picked up this for home, and it is a family favorite. So every year we have a gathering of my family around Christmas, and we certainly have great food, but we also get together to have some games. And this is one that the family really likes, and it's a lot of fun. Even sometimes the coming up with the wrong answers is quite amusing. And we usually have a Christmas theme to our sentences. So you can focus on the lip movements that you've learned and make up your own sentences and use these headphones. And it's also a great way to get family involved and realizing how, lip reading is a challenge, but how important it is to you if you have hearing loss. So we've come to pretty much the end of our session, but I wanted to just cover some key takeaways that certainly I'd like to leave with you. One of those is that speech reading skills can play a really important role in improving your communication. And when I say speech reading skills, it's everything I cover today, that umbrella, lip reading, uh, hearing loss management, self-advocacy skills, learning about more technology, learning more about your own hearing loss and your hearing aids. All those things give you the tools that you can use in different listening environments to improve what you understand and give you greater confidence. Also, I hope I demonstrated that speech reading is a part of feeling more confident in your communication and living well with hearing loss. So living your best life. Nothing can bring, at least right now, can bring your hearing back to the normal if you have permanent hearing loss. But there's things that you can do to improve what you understand and your ability to communicate in different environments. So this is where speech reading can really make a difference. And I hope also I've let you know that the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association is here to help. We have resources for speech reading training online and in person. And we also have speech reading resources that we can loan out. And if you're not in Newfoundland and Labrador, or you're somewhere else in Canada, the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association National has many branches and chapters, and some of them do offer speech reading classes. So you can reach out to them. And for our attendees in the US, HLAA, Hearing Loss Association America, also has some resources if you want to reach out to them. And if you're in other parts of the world, certainly reach out to your local hearing loss association to see what resources are available. So I just want to say thank you very much for attending today. I hope you had a little bit of fun testing out your existing speech reading resources, your own skills, but also learned the advantages of learning speech reading in a more formal way and studying different lip reading movements. So where this is a recording, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. So I'll leave this information here. You can reach out with any questions about what we covered today, or if there's any kind of resources that we can share. The programs and services team are available to help you. So have a great day and happy speech reading. Take care now. Bye.